checking in with our midweek analysis video here from Folsom Field. Brian, I think it's time for some injury updates leading up to the conference opener, which, by the way, I'm wearing some soon-to-be vintage Pac-12 gear here, and you're repping Frederick. So
Kids high school, yeah.
Alton McCaskill sheds the no-contact jersey, and this has been a debut that Colorado fans have been anxiously awaiting, largely because of what he did at Houston as a true freshman. And I don't quite think we can expect him to have a big load out in Eugene if he does indeed play, like Coach Prime alluded to, most likely being the case. But, I think that ground game right now could use a boost, and Alton McCaskill might be able to provide that.
Yeah, I think Alton McCaskill has been highly anticipating this debut. As we you look back at the well-off video from midway through camp, and he's asking Coach, "Can I take this thing off? I want to go." And Coach Brown's like, "We need you for the stretch." Well, the stretch kind of starts. This isn't the stretch run, but conference play. Yeah. They need him, and this run game obviously has not been what we thought it might be to this point. And they can use a big back like Alton McCaskill. I'm excited to see him. I've been excited since they signed him to see what he can do. And you're right. I'm not sure if we can expect 15, 20 carries, but if you can get a good, 8 to 12 carries out of him that are highly productive, mixing in with Dylan Edwards and Anthony Hankerson and maybe Kavasier Smoke, then that can be what we've envisioned, right? I mean, they need that though going forward.
And Coach Prime also mentioned that Travis Jay is working his way back into the mix in the secondary, a guy that played a lot of safety at Florida State, but it sounds like he's working at cornerback here, and he's had to stay patient, rehabbing an injury, coming back. Played in quite a few games at Florida State, even returned some kickoffs there. It's unfortunate that some of these injuries are piling up at some positions, but they are starting to bring some guys back that had been dinged up.
Yeah, that's the nice thing is that they're 3-0 without some of these guys that they've that we've kind of thought they could rely on. Without Alton McCaskill, without Travis Jay, Brendan Gant, Jaquez Robinson, has been pretty banged up, and so they're 3-0 without those guys. And so once they start getting those guys healthy, you got to think, okay, the depth is just going to be much better here. And obviously with Travis Hunter out this week. It would be nice if Travis Jay is ready to play this week. Coach Prime said that he had a really good day of practice on Tuesday. Coach Kelly said on Wednesday that Travis is looking pretty good, and they're hoping to get him going here soon. So these are guys that the Buffs need, as they get into conference play, and we're starting to see a little bit of attrition and some holes in the team. You need some of these guys like McCaskill and Jay.
We haven't got updates on Van Wells or Miles Slusher this week. We'll keep an eye on that in pregame unless anything comes out before then. But let's transition over to our chat with Charles Kelly. He obviously talked about the explosive plays need to be limited going into conference play. That's been an issue for them. But, talked about the fact that they have shown great resolve all throughout non-conference play. And he said sometimes when you have a big group of newcomers like they have, when times get tough, that's when you start having some issues. And this has been a very resilient group.
Yeah, he's been impressed with, obviously you mentioned we've given up too many yards. But he said this group has never given up, and they've shown that resolve. And, you have to credit this team. They've been in 2 games now that have gone down to the wire. And in both cases, the offense is Shedeur Sanders was pretty fantastic in both of those, in both the finishes of those games. But it's the defense that finished them off, right? The defense. Miles Slusher made the big tackle against TCU for that stop there at the end. They had a couple timely turnovers, and then against CSU, it was Trevor Woods coming up with the interception on the last play of the game. So that defense, has been. There's that term bend but don't break. Right. They've broken a little bit too much probably, but there's times that they've really come up with some big plays and not allowed more to happen. I mean, there's times that the opposition is really driven down the field, but then the defense comes up with a big play, and that's the stuff that makes Charles Kelly happy.
You mentioned Trevor Woods' game-clinching interception. It's almost like he called his shot there, right? He said that he was going to get that pick and then punt the ball into Folsom Field stands, and that's exactly what he did. What a cool moment for him. Again, we go back to a few of these guys, Mikey Harrison and Marvin Ham and Jared Christian Lichenhan, that they stood up to the challenge, and it was a great moment for him.
Yeah, it really was, because he hasn't experienced a whole lot of wins here at Folsom Field, and obviously they got the one last year. He had a big hand in the one 2 years ago against Arizona. He had the block punt that he returned for a touchdown as a freshman, but not a whole lot of those moments for Trevor Woods at this place. And for it to happen on a night like that against the rival that he's never played against in a packed house, and to come up with that play to win it, yeah, I'd probably punt the ball too. That's pretty exciting for him.
Yeah. At receiver, Zay Weaver and Jimmy Horn rank first and second in the Pac-12 in receptions per game right now. And I would imagine that's at the top of the scouting report for Oregon. We're going to get more in depth into that. But Mikey Harrison might continue to be a factor because Travis Hunter, while he's on the shelf, you need another guy to step up there because if they're focusing in on Zay Weaver and Jimmy Horn, then that opens things up for a guy like Mikey Harrison, and that's what happened late against CSU.
Yeah, I mean, they really kind of, you could see them kind of change that game plan a little bit in the middle of the third quarter when the offense was sputtering and they punted 5 straight times, and all of a sudden they start looking at Mikey Harrison. I mean, all of his catches, 7 catches, 8 plus the, including the 2-point conversion, happen mid-third quarter on, because they kind of changed things, and that's a big change for Sean Lewis. His tight ends. I did look at a lot of the numbers this week, and that was the second best tight end game for Sean Lewis tight end in his 9 years as an OC or head coach. So that doesn't happen very often, and but I think Mikey Harrison proved himself, and he's a guy that it sounds like has built a good rapport with Shedeur, and that that they trust each other. And that Shedeur knows that I can throw to Mikey Harrison, he's going to make the catch, and they're going to need that with Travis Hunter out. Even with Travis Hunter in, I think Mikey Harrison can be a good player for them.
How many times in previous years did we see the other team make adjustments and Colorado wasn't able to adjust to it, and Colorado on the flip side of that not making those key adjustments that they needed to make to? I would make an argument that in all 3 games, this team got better coached in terms of the adjustments and how they were attacking the other team as these games went along. And so that's another really encouraging sign for Colorado fans to take from non-conference play, even though at times it was kind of clunky in all 3 phases of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's certainly some things you can point out, like they never did stop that crossing route against CSU, but offensively they made the big adjustment, and they started doing some things that they did make adjustments. And that is one thing that you and I talked about over the last several years is like, why don't they adjust? I mean, this team gets out-coached, and a lot of what CU would do in the last couple of years was they might come out strong in games, but then they weren't very good the last 3 quarters, and so teams would adjust to them and they couldn't do anything. But I think this coaching staff, we've talked about it a lot, about how good this coaching staff is, and I'm sure you get the question too, how good is this coaching staff? And I would always say, well, let's see how they play. I don't know how good they are, but as we're watching 3 games in, this is a pretty good coaching staff because they can make adjustments, and they're doing some things to help this team win.
And this coaching staff has a huge challenge this week. We're going to preview that game against Oregon to kick off Pac-12 conference play tomorrow.